You're crouched by a fire 40,000 years ago, and a splinter of bone has torn through the skin above your knee. There's no antiseptic, no stitches. No one coming with a needle and thread. Just firelight, a handful of plants someone half remembers, and the people sitting around you. Right now, you'd reach for a bottle in a cabinet. Antibiotics, painkillers, a bandage from a sealed wrapper. All of it manufactured, tested, mass-produced, and mostly invented in the last 150 years. For roughly 300,000 years before that, none of it existed. Not the concept, not the chemistry, not the word germ. So how did prehistoric humans survive infection, injury, and disease without any of the medicine we now consider basic survival gear? The first answer isn't a drug. It's a plant. In 1991, hikers in the Ötztal Alps found a 5,300-year-old body, now known as Ötzi, preserved in glacial ice. Researchers at the University of Innsbruck examined what he was carrying, and among his gear was Piptoporus botulinus, Urch polypore fungus, a species known to have antibacterial and antiparasitic properties. He was also infected with whipworm. One man, one fungus, a 5,000-year-old medicine cabinet carried in a pouch. So what changed the picture completely? For decades, scientists assumed prehistoric people simply endured pain and died young. Everyone assumed Stone Age life offered nothing but suffering until modern medicine arrived. The truth is more complicated, because the evidence shows deliberate, repeated medical intervention, not just survival by luck. Take the skeleton found at Shanidar Cave in Iraq. In the 1950s, archaeologist Ralph Selecki uncovered a Neanderthal skeleton, now called Shanidar I, dating back roughly 45,000 years. This man had a withered arm, was likely blind in one eye, and had lost partial use of one leg. He lived for years after those injuries. A person that disabled does not survive alone in an Ice Age landscape. Someone fed him. Someone helped him walk. Care wasn't a luxury layered on top of survival. It was survival. Here's where it gets strange. Healing wasn't only about herbs and companionship. Sometimes it involved cutting into the skull itself. Archaeologists have documented trepanation, deliberately drilling or scraping a hole into the skull, at sites across Europe dating back over 7,000 years. A 2018 study led by bioarchaeologists analyzing skeletal remains found that many patients showed clear bone regrowth around the hole. That means they survived the surgery, sometimes by years. No anesthesia, no sterilization, just flint, steady hands, and a survival rate that modern surgeons still find hard to believe. But there's a problem with imagining this as a story of individual toughness. Toughness alone doesn't explain the numbers. A single infected wound, left completely untreated, kills a healthy adult within days in most documented cases of untreated sepsis. Prehistoric humans didn't have a 0% infection survival rate, which means something was actively working in their favor beyond luck. That something was largely microbial and environmental knowledge passed down without writing. Researchers studying dental calculus, hardened plaque on Neanderthal teeth at El Cedrón Cave in Spain, published findings in 2017 showing traces of poplar, a natural source of salicylic acid, the same compound behind aspirin, alongside evidence of a natural penicillium mold. One Neanderthal in that study appears to have been self-medicating for a dental abscess using plants with real pharmacological activity, tens of thousands of years before anyone understood what a molecule was. So what happened once humans started living in larger groups? The evidence shifts from individual survival to collective knowledge. Modern anthropological studies of hunter-gatherer societies, including research on groups like the Hadza of Tanzania, catalog hundreds of plant species used medicinally for wounds, parasites, fevers, and pain. That knowledge isn't guesswork. It's centuries of trial, error, and memory, refined and taught the same way tool-making was taught. By watching, by doing, by surviving long enough to pass it on. Here's the twist most people miss entirely. The real defense against death wasn't any single plant, surgery, or fireside remedy. It was redundancy, dozens of overlapping strategies, so that when one failed, another might work. A wound got cleaned, wrapped in fibrous plant matter, treated with an antimicrobial fungus, and watched over by people who wouldn't let the sick person be left behind. No single piece was the cure. The system was the cure. And that system had a brutal filter built into it. Life expectancy at birth in prehistoric populations is often estimated around 30 to 35 years, largely driven by high infant and child mortality. But researchers using paleodemographic data have shown that a person who survived childhood had a real chance of reaching 60 or beyond. The danger wasn't spread evenly across a life. It was front-loaded, brutal, and then if you made it through, oddly survivable. So the picture isn't a species groaning under constant sickness. It's a species that built an entire invisible infrastructure of care. Plants, surgery, memory, and each other, with nothing written down and nothing store-bought. You're still crouched by that fire, the wound above your knee packed now with something bitter-smelling someone handed you without a word. It isn't medicine the way you know it. It has no label, no dosage, no brand. But it's working because someone remembered it working before on someone else decades ago. And never let that memory die. The real medicine wasn't the plant in your hand, it was the person who remembered which plant to hand you. We didn't just inherit their bones and their tools, we inherited a habit of refusing to let each other die alone. And somewhere between then and now, wrapped in glass bottles and sealed packaging, it's easy to forget that the habit came first and the medicine came second.